and today we got to play Transmission. So this is hot right out of the mail, right?
Yeah.
Just released Kickstarter, so we're super excited to get this out and play it for you guys. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because board games, and that's what we do.
You want
here.
to see more transmissions?
Ooh,
I saw you did that.
All right. Robert, can you tell us a little bit more about?
Yeah, I sure can. So it's a 2022 release. Overall rank is 9,236, rated at a 7.7. It's designed by Adam West. Art is, you may have heard of the artist. His name's Matt Dixon. The game was inspired by his art. So Matt Dixon, Peter Gifford, and Chad Hoverter. Published by Crosscut Games. Now, it's not available for retail yet. The Kickstarter I paid for was $54 with shipping. Geek Market's got it on sale. People are selling it between $65 to $70 if you're interested, if you don't want to wait for retail.
Okay, so cool. All right, so let's talk about quality components. Oh my gosh, guys. These are just so amazing.
Now, the Kickstarters you've seen out there, are they with these components, or
there's a Kickstarter version that's the deluxe. It's what this is, and then you got the Kickstarter retail. Retail is cardboard stands.
So what you were seeing that was out there on this Geek Market and so on, was that
those were both the Kickstarter versions with the miniatures.
The deluxe.
Yep.
Okay.
So well worth the $10, $15. So.
Absolutely.
All right. So, but overall, these really bring out the game. Everything else,
it's pretty standard.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty standard.
Cards do have a linen finish.
So does the tiles.
You got some plastic cubes instead of
wooden.
They are a little bit engraved.
And they do have a little bit
engraving on it.
And you do get the inlaid player boards. I mean, so there's some nice stuff in here
for sure.
I'm thinking it'd be a 7 without the miniatures. I'll give it 7.75 with the miniatures. What do you think?
Oh, just because the minis are so freaking awesome, I'm giving it an 8 at least. Okay. Because it's a stone wash, or not a stone wash, but it's I forget the
sun drop.
Yeah, like a sun drop technique, and so I think they're just fantastic. They look great, so I can't give it any less than 8. And plus, the board's decent quality.
Everything's nice. I mean, everything's nice, okay. Yeah, so,
it's just. And it's got game tray storage.
Yep.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8 as well.
Okay. All right. So now let's talk about theme. So the theme is you have these amazing little robots that are trying to. I don't know what they're trying to do, but they're trying to do something.
They're gathering parts and energy.
And they're like gathering information and engrams, like they're trying to become better. And and they're like working with nature because that's part of the scoring. And so it's a kind of a relaxing theme, really. There's really no...
Well, I don't know. Alex played with this, and he said it stressed him out playing it.
Yeah, but I don't think it was because of the theme.
Yeah.
No. I think the theme was super cute. Like
it
feels very relaxing. Yes.
Not just the minis, but the art on the tokens and the cards. Again, Matt Dixon's a fantastic artist, and honestly, it really shines
just
through.
Just the back of the player decks is just truly breathtaking. So art alone, guys, I'm at a 9 just because the art's just so amazing.
I didn't understand the connection between the pipes and the robots, though. It was almost like there were two separate games.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah,
that was the only problem I had with the theme. It just didn't mesh well for me. I mean, you're gathering up resources from the lake and the forest, or the meadow, I should say, and then the scrapyard makes sense, that piece, but I don't really understand the lake and the meadow tied to the robots either. But then you have this pipes that is completely isolated from the rest of the game, really.
Well, no, but I think that's the end game, right? Because those were where the victory points were at.
Well, those were, but you could also score other.
No, that's the route I went, and I did not even get close to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to do a little of each, but I just didn't understand how thematically it tied in.
Mechanically, I like the pipes,
yeah,
but thematically, it didn't really fit with the rest of the game.
Yeah,
so I still liked it.
But, I did too. I mean, I love pipe building.
It didn't fit. So,
give it a score.
Thematically, because the art is so good, I'm giving it a 9.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I'm probably an 8 because I just don't understand how it all ties together. I love the art; it's beautiful art. I love the.
I think I would have gave it a 10 if if it fitted better together. But because the art's is so good, I can't give it any less than 9.
Yeah. All right. So now let's move on to Rulebook.
All right. So the Rulebook is.
So you read the Rulebook too.
I did, but Randy taught the game. So
it's 16 pages. It's got a beautiful cover on the front. And it's a simple read. It's large print, a lot of pictures. The rule actually only to learn how to play the game with multiplayer is only 10 pages with the cover.
There's a solo variant too.
So it's actually a real simple read. And then you have the solo play. After that, there's actually a 3-page solo game. And then they call it glossary and all the different tiles explanation. It didn't have everything in there as far as it, but then they had an auxiliary sheet for all the Kickstarter
because
stuff.
the Kickstarter stuff. So yeah. I'm assuming that the non-Kickstarter retail version won't come with the other stuff.
So it did. It had enough to get you through looking up all the information. I don't think we ran into any questions we couldn't answer.
Yeah.
They didn't necessarily show every tile, but they showed enough to give you the answer for the ones you're looking for. All in all, it was an easy read. It was an easy teach. I'll go ahead and give it an 8. I think it was a good rule book.
I could agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about the gameplay. So the gameplay is that the robots are, of course, throughout the game board.
It's like a giant rondel.
Yeah. And so you have 3 cards in your hand at any given time. You play a card. When you play the card, you take the we'll go through it. You'll move your piece, and then it will go underneath the deck, and then you draw back up. So with those 3, there's a couple of options. So one will be pictures of robots. So that's the robot, if you choose to play that you'll move, and it has the movement up in the corner. Okay, now over the course of a period of time, you may add special abilities to the robot, so it may matter about which ones you're going to move. For example, this particular robot for me, it's a squiggle. When it gets a resource, it gets 2 energy, as well as converting that 2 energy to a cube. So that's kind of nice for this particular one. But you may also get these cards, which are locations. And so any robot in those locations, you can then move as well. Sometimes this is limiting because sometimes they're not in those locations.
Yes. And if that's all you got in your hand.
That's all you got in your hand. That's what you got in your hand. So oftentimes I would try to play these first just in case, because I want to at least be able to move the robot. Now, so when I do play it, so for an example, I've got this 3 green here. All right, so I'm going to move the green guy. Now, I don't count any spaces that are actually already filled up. So I'm going to start here and go 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to take the action of that location. Now, we'll go throughout the board. That particular action with the biggest kind of great thing, you get 4 energy for. Now, if I move on to the forest area, I basically take 2 of these cards, choose 1, and put the other one down. Now, most of those cards have special abilities, such as giving you extra tokens when you collect resources, or maybe it's take your turn again. Energy. So it ranges far across the spectrum of those special items that you take. Yep, show more pure victory points. Now, if I go into the pipe area, I have to have resources to pay for the pipes. So in this particular case, if I look at this one, this is 2 whites and a red cube. So if I have those, I can turn those in to gain the pipe, and I can place them on my pipe network. Now, I start with a center line pipe here, okay? And then notice, though, with this pipe that there are 2 large and 2 small. So when I gain them, so for example, this notch is a large notch. So I have to connect it to the large space, but it does convert into a small notch. So kind of keep that in mind. You may not necessarily want to make all of your small notches, right? Just in case you don't have that capability. So I'm going to place it on here. Now, something I noticed on this particular piece that I ended up getting is the fact that it had a butterfly. Now, throughout the different game pieces and different locations, there are butterfly and birds. So when you do a combination, at the end of the game, you're going to take your butterflies times your birds. So just keep that in mind as you play, and you may pick up the bird and butterfly strategy. Okay, so I'm going to place that down, and that would be the end of my turn.
Once you place the pipe, it's stuck.
It's stuck there. However, in the forest area, you'll notice that there are cards that you can pick up for certain patterns in your pipe stream. So in this one, it's this particular shape. if I can complete the shape and land on the tree, instead of taking the 2 cards, I could choose to take this, which is worth 7 victory points. Okay, so that's an option there. Now, I can, water and grass, both are about resource collecting. They also have this special tile that allows me to convert certain things into victory points.
Those are Kickstarter.
Yeah, it's a Kickstarter expansion.
Okay,
And so are the shape tiles for the pipes. Those are
Correct.
both Kickstarter items.
Okay, all right. So then the last and final thing that we talk about, obviously, is like the village. Yeah, the scrapyard's out there. The village.
That's the town, yeah.
Yeah, the town. All right, so the town holds. And we do need to talk about scrapyard. All right, so the town in itself has, again, more tiles that can go actually into the robots as they upgrade themselves, but they're typically worth victory points. So in this particular case, like the truck. If I only have 1 of the trucks in all my robots, I only get 1 victory point. But if I get 2, I'll have 7. Okay.
But
now
that's 7 per truck, so you get to add and count.
Yeah. So if the other truck is worth 7 as well.
Yes.
So again, you have to pay the resources to do that, but they also require energy to pay. So just making sure, depending on how far along the track you can go. Now the scrapyard has something similar in the fact that it has tiles you have to pay energy for, and sometimes cubes. But these give you specifically special abilities per the robot. Like I mentioned earlier, that one robot was able to get 2 energy and then transfer that 2 energy into a cube, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind, that it might be very beneficial to upgrade your robot so you can do more things when you land on certain places. So very beneficial. All right, those are all the spots on the board. And so you're going to continue to play a card, move one of those. So you don't own any of the robots. They are grouped. So just depending on the card you play is the one you get to take the action on. You play until either one of the pipe decks is completely empty. If you cannot refill either one of these, or someone fully completes their board. So that triggers the end of the game.
That point, everybody but the person that triggered the end of game gets 1 more turn.
Correct. So overall, I think this is I wouldn't call this a medium game. I wouldn't call it light either.
I think it's an entry game. I think that it introduces some mechanics that people may not be familiar with in a really light, easy way. So like if people aren't familiar with the rondelle, it introduces rondelle. People aren't used to hand management. You can learn some hand management mechanics as well as some pipe building and pipe laying. There's other games that
become a plumber.
Yeah, there's other games that you can kind of tetrahedral type pieces that you can fit together. So I think there's some nice little introductions of different mechanics, but it's not a complicated system whatsoever. I think it'd be a really good game to teach to gamers interested in learning something besides card games or something.
Yeah. Now, I will say something that's very different is most Tetra pieces, they don't have this groove in, groove out with 2 different grooves. I thought that was very interesting, and I kind of like that because it's still pretty simple. But
it can limit you.
But it does
may not be able to, because that's one thing we didn't talk about. If you buy a pipe piece that you can't place, you get to place it on the sign and still score points, just not as much as if you could place it.
Yeah, so I think that's actually pretty interesting. Noticing that was pretty interesting too. I think they did a fusion of some of the things, but I do feel like the pipes, that's where the victory points are. And so I think that's kind of the focus. And so I noticed several times in the game, we were clogged up here. And then so I was forced to move, but then by the time it got around to me, this area is still clogged. And so that became very difficult. So, and then I was trying to figure out, okay, well, so then I was like, oh, well, then this leads me up to get resources, get this, and not worry about it. But that did not score nearly as well. So I feel like it's a little pipe heavy on the victory points.
Randy and I focused on pipes quite a bit, and we did score well, but I don't think that has to be. I think Randy said earlier that I think if you focus on a little bit of everything, that's where you really got to go. And just take advantage as soon as those pipes open up, jump on it and get you something.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying is
I think it's
the pipes are the priority.
The orientation that's important because the reason I scored so many points is I made 1 trail because you only count the longest path from the central starting point.
But I only got 3 pipe tiles the whole game because I couldn't get to them. So for me, you know, like, so I was like, well, I'm just not going to bother. In multi-point games, I like there to be a little bit of a balance, just because, you know, or kind of knowing on the onset. Like, I didn't realize that pipes were not equal as building up your player board.
You ended up with 77 plus 15, so that's 92. You weren't far from
I was the bottom of the pile, though.
out of 96, 97, and 92. You're 5 points apart. It's not a huge variance there.
But I pretty much maxed out in this capability, though. So, you know.
I mean, I see your point, but I think that there's other ways to try and score other points top of it.
No, I think
so. I don't think that has to be your primary focus. It just happened to be mine. But I think that, I mean, I didn't win the game. And, I mean, I scored the most off of pipes and then anybody else.
No, I got one more than you.
Oh, yeah. But still, I mean, I scored a lot. And I still lost by 12 points.
Well, I'm also wondering how many of these cards did you guys end up getting?
I got 2.
And that may be the thing. Where
and
that's
each one is different value. So
Yeah.
I think mine was worth 13.
I got 15.
Well, so I'm wondering if that maybe played, because that is part of the Kickstarter.
Mhm.
And so maybe that's may have what kind of pushed it slightly off balance.
But like I said, I think that all the mechanics are fairly simple. As Randy mentioned, it's an easy teach. I think it would be an easy teach. I think it's a great game to bring to a family game night and maybe introduce some mechanics that people aren't used to.
Yeah, no, I do think it's still a good game. I think, you know, I'd play it differently going into it because I knew how extensive the pipes are, right? So I find that that's fine in a game as long as I kind of know it ahead of time. So overall, though, I still really enjoyed it. I'm probably going to give this a 7.5. It was a pretty good game. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. 7.5 is about what I was thinking too. I mean, it's light. It's got elements of that I enjoy a lot. I always like pipe building games.
It's even got an engine building too.
Yeah, a little bit of engine building to it too. Yeah, so it's got a lot of elements. I don't think it's very fleshed out on any of them because it's a light game. You don't expect it to be. But it's very cute. It's definitely going to be an eye catcher with especially any children. I mean, we know Sarah was over here playing with the robots. So. And
I think that's the reason why I'm going to just a little bit higher. I think I'm going to give it an 8, just because even though it's not a deep game, I think it is fleshed out for what it is. Mm-hmm. And so I think that like I said, it's a great game to introduce to people that aren't used to it. On top of the theme and the art's just so great. I'm going to give it a little bit more. I'm an 8.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We had a blast today. We got to play some good ones. This one is one of them. And we hope to catch you guys again later. See you guys.
Bye. Bye.